From ABC in New York, this is World News Tonight, Sunday, with Sam Donaldson.
Good evening. The flicker of hope that Iran was offering to move toward release of the American hostages appears to be going out tonight. And on this 71st day of the hostages' captivity, the UN Security Council seems to be moving once again toward a vote on imposing economic sanctions against Iran. 48 hours ago, the United States agreed to postpone the vote after UN Secretary General Waldheim received a hazy message from Tehran. A follow-up letter from Iranian Foreign Minister Gobsadeh talked a lot about Iranian demands, but not about the hostages' release. And as this afternoon wore on, American patience was wearing out. John Martin reports from the UN.
The United Nations was deserted this afternoon, but across the street at the United States mission, U.S. Ambassador Donald McHenry consulted by telephone with the Secretary General and the 14 other members of the Security Council. Everyone was waiting to see whether any new message might arrive from Iran to break the impasse. But by mid-afternoon, nothing new had arrived, and McHenry said time seemed to be running out.
There's nothing else at this stage which would justify a continued delay.
Late today, Secretary General Waldheim talked for more than 30 minutes by telephone to Foreign Minister Ghatspazadeh in Iran. There was no word on the substance of their conversation. Waldheim will tell the Security Council tonight about it, and then the Council will convene in formal session, with the United States still apparently deciding to press for sanctions unless there is some new movement to release the hostages. John Martin, ABC News, the United Nations.
In Tehran today, John Thomas, an activist in the American Indian movement, was allowed to see one of the American hostages being held at the U.S. Embassy. The hostage was not identified, but Thomas said the person was in good condition. Thomas was given mail from the captives to be delivered to their relatives. ABC News had a taped report on Thomas ready for transmission from Tehran, but the 5 technicians at the satellite station decided at the last minute to take the day off. No reason given, and no reports from any television news organization got out. We do have a story that was shipped by air about the continuing unrest in Iran's Azerbaijan province. Jack Smith in Tabriz reports on the aftermath of the execution of 11 followers of the Ayatollah Shariat Madari by troops loyal to his rival, Iran's main leader, Ayatollah Khomeini.
After news of the execution spread, an angry mob of Shariat Madari supporters marched into central Tabriz and went on a rampage. They smashed windows and broke into a bank and set it on fire. Only about a third of the people in Tabriz support Ayatollah Khomeini. The other 2/3 follow his rival, Ayatollah Kazem Shariat Madari. The central government in Tehran is determined to suppress what it regards as a challenge to Khomeini's authority. In the last several days, several hundred of Shariat Madari's supporters have been arrested by Ayatollah Khomeini's Revolutionary Guardsmen, and some of them have now been executed without trial. Although the central government has sent reinforcements to Tabriz, the Revolutionary Guardsmen were outnumbered during this riot and they kept out of sight. They did, however, arrest a news team from the National Broadcasting Company and confiscated their tapes of the riot. Foreign journalists have been banned from Tabriz, but the trouble here is expected to continue, and the revolutionary government in Tehran dislikes bad publicity. Jack Smith, ABC News, Tabriz.
Hey, guess who gets 21 miles per gallon? Surprised? A lot of folks are. But the 1980 Jeep CJ with a feisty 4-cylinder engine gets the best gas mileage of any 4-wheel drive vehicle built in America. An EPA estimated MPG of 21 and a highway estimate of 25. So get into CJ fun and get going with fuel economy you can be proud of. With a 1980 Jeep CJ. Who says economy has to be dull?
Look! My grandmother's coffee grinder. She had a country-born secret for delicious coffee. Add grain to smooth away bitterness.
Come see what else I found. Mellow Roast Instant. They know your grandmother's secret. Only Mellow Roast is a blend of rich coffees and roasted grain that smooths away bitterness for delicious, full-flavored coffee taste.
Grandma would have loved Mellow Roast.
Mellow Roast coffee and grain beverage. No bitterness.
Just delicious, full-flavored coffee taste.
Deputy Secretary of State Warren Christopher left for Europe today to consult American allies on further moves to counter the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. Before leaving Dulles Airport, Christopher predicted there would be a strong, united Western response on many fronts. including an agreement on joint military and economic aid to Pakistan, Afghanistan's southeastern neighbor. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger suggested today that the United States establish air and naval bases in Pakistan as a means of showing U.S. determination to defend that country. President Carter may not be ready to go that far, but he is preparing a major new foreign policy declaration on the U.S. position in that part of the world. Details from White House correspondent Bettina Gregory.
The president's new foreign policy is intended to contain the Russians and to keep the Soviets from moving into Afghanistan's neighbors, Pakistan and Iran. But it is expected to stop short of calling for a formal alliance like NATO amongst the non-communist nations of the Persian Gulf. The president will spell out his plans for a permanently increased military presence in the Indian Ocean. Negotiations are underway for the use of naval and air bases in Oman, Somalia, and Kenya, but it is unlikely American ground troops will be stationed in those areas. Although he's not expected to call for a formal alliance, Mr. Carter is expected to toughen up his commitment to help Pakistan defend itself from attack. For now, U.S. assistance will most likely be limited to military and economic aid. The president is trying to put together a billion-dollar package for Pakistan. This new foreign policy may be announced in the State of the Union message to Congress January 23rd or in a primetime television address. That decision hasn't been made yet, but in either case, the new foreign policy will be revealed within a couple of weeks. Bettina Gregory, ABC News, the White House.
Reports from Afghanistan today tell of heavy fighting between Russian troops and guerrilla units, with the guerrillas suffering many casualties. But these reports are difficult to confirm given the mountainous terrain and poor communications, factors which will, despite the results of any one battle, make it difficult for the Russians to end resistance quickly. Greg Dobbs has more.
The Russians now seem certain to be committed to a guerrilla war here. With several thousand of these armored personnel carriers, plus helicopters and planes, tanks and artillery, their firepower is awesome, but also maybe to their partial disadvantage. In fact, with so few roads in this country, just a few guerrillas can tie up several times their number of Russians. Soviet tanks are vulnerable to ambush in gorges like this. Russian supply lines are hard to run. Where they can, guerrillas are burying mines in the asphalt. Where there are trees, they are chopping them down and blocking highways. Friday, they even attacked this one private car and tied up the main road from Kabul to the Khyber Pass for several hours. The most sophisticated Russian weapon known to be in use here is the MiG-21. But when insurgents take refuge in gorges, it can't dive in to find them. Another disadvantage for the Russians here is their allied army of the Afghan government. It is demoralized and reduced by defections. And these men told us, we like America, not Russia. Russia, no good. With friends like this, the Soviet Union may have an even harder time here with its enemies. Most Afghans living in these mountains are divided into clan and tribal groups. Feuds in this environment are a way of life. Their feud now is with communism. And that's the one thing that binds these otherwise disparate and independent people together. For communism means atheism. And as Muslims, they must oppose it, especially in these days of the Islamic revival. If one had to summarize the prevailing opinions of long-time observers here, and they are just that, opinions, it would be that the Russians probably can and eventually will break the insurgents and sustain communism, but not without a long, tough, and costly fight. Greg Dobbs, ABC News, in Afghanistan.
In Pakistan, there is a good deal of nervousness about whether that Afghan fight will spill over the border, particularly among those who live nearest to the action. Bill Redeker reports from one such location.
Located only a few miles from the Afghan border in northwest Pakistan, the tribal village of Gandau is prepared, if necessary, to defend itself. Close enough to hear occasional gunfire, virtually everyone here is armed with a weapon. For example, Haji Miamjan, the local jeweler, is equipped with a machine gun. Next door at the open-air coffee shop, 23-year-old Ya Rahman packs an automatic .303 rifle, which he says is always ready. And in a back alley machine shop, Mohammed Bhatti turns out homemade ammunition, including crudely fashioned bombs. We have no fear, says businessman Almiam Fazlmala. We know the Russian soldiers could come across the border, but God is with us, and we have our weapons. In fact, no one in the tribal villages knows whether the Soviets would invade Pakistan in their pursuit of Afghan rebels. But if they should, tribesmen who fought invaders before say they are ready. Even, says Hassan Haq, if we have to fight them with their own weapons, like these 2 rockets recently captured by Afghan rebels only a few miles away. Bill Redeker, ABC News, Gandau Village, Pakistan.
Here in New York City tonight, a bomb exploded at the Manhattan office of the Soviet airline Aeroflot, injuring at least 4 people. So far, no one has claimed responsibility. Administration sources confirmed this weekend that President Carter may well ask that the Summer Olympic Games be moved from Moscow if Soviet troops remain in Afghanistan. The head of the International Olympic Committee, Lord Killannon, said in a newspaper interview today that would be physically impossible. But on the CBS program Face the Nation, Agriculture Secretary Bob Bergland suggested wryly that what might be impossible would be holding the Olympic Games comfortably in Moscow, in light of the adverse effect the partial U.S. grain embargo will have on the Soviet food supply.
It will cause them a major inconvenience. And I would advise anybody traveling in the Soviet Union, especially to the Summer Olympics, if it's held, and if we're there officially, bring your own lunch.
The Soviets and their visitors' lunch may be the poorer for the grain embargo, but then so may President Carter's political fortunes in the American Farm Belt. The latest on that in a moment.
Thursday the 1st, 7:30 a.m. Man in mirror looks old. Gray hair has got to go. Used Grecian formula for the first time. Looks like water. No mess. Tuesday the 6th. Gray hair slowly disappearing. Monday the 12th. More gray gone. Nobody noticing. Sunday the 18th. Hair looks perfectly natural. Feels healthy too. Wife likes touch of gray I left around the sides. Boss says I look great. Asks if I've lost weight. Fact. Without all that gray, I look like myself again. Grecian formula. Liquid and cream.
You need the breath deodorant.
Me? I need a what deodorant?
The breath deodorant. Clorette's.
Breath deodorant? Sounds strong.
That's right. Clorette's with Actazol is strong to deodorize mouth odors. It helps your mouth's own freshening power eliminate bad breath.
Of course, it costs a little more.
But for really fresh breath, it's worth it.
Clorette's, the breath deodorant.
What's wrong with cars today?
The shop has it more than I do.
Oh, seems like the real trouble starts when the warranty ends.
You can fight back against ordinary cars with an International Scout. Every new Scout is warranted for 100,000 miles on the engine and 5 years against any rust-through. Fight back against ordinary car warranties with Scout. Anything less is just a car.
For your nearest dealer, dial 800-IH-SCOUT.
Hit an iceberg, and your boat could wind up a pile of toothpicks. Doug Hammaker has to be careful. He's sailing the world alone. His only comfort from the frozen sea, a robust cup of Nescafe. A flavor more than rich. It's robust. Robust flavor that helped make Nescafe the world's largest selling brand of instant coffees. Nescafe, regular and decaffeinated. Robust flavor that won the world.
1 week from tomorrow, the first delegates to the national political conventions will be selected in Iowa. And with the latest poll showing President Carter leading Senator Kennedy, the main imponderable on the Democratic side seems to be whether the president will lose ground because of having cut back grain sales to the Soviets. Charles Gibson reports.
It is difficult to read the politics of Iowa's countryside. But 9 days ago, both the Kennedy and Carter camps agreed the president was pulling ahead. Then, from an equally snow-covered White House, he imposed the grain embargo. Regardless of the arguments on its merits, the embargo was a tremendous political gamble. And as expected, Senator Kennedy attacked it.
The burden will be higher on the farmer and the taxpayer than it will be on the Soviet aggressor.
To minimize the damage, Carter's surrogates have been out in force. Agriculture Secretary Bob Bergland, 20 stops in rural Iowa.
Painful as it was, the president took the only action he could.
First Lady Rosalind Carter, 24 stops.
This is the most serious threat to our national security since World War II.
The issue is so vital, Vice President Mondale even suggested it was unpatriotic. for Kennedy to oppose the embargo.
He, like the president, had a choice as to what was more important, serving this nation and delivering a harsh message to the Soviet Union, or pursuing the politics of the moment. And I think he has decided to pursue the politics of the moment.
Kennedy responded last night by giving Mondale a New England Patriots sweatshirt. From one patriot to another, he said. To all this political rhetoric, the Iowa farmers have listened impassively. But do they accept administration assurances they won't be hurt economically? The answer may come at the commodity exchanges. Grain prices plummeted Wednesday, then edged up a bit Friday. Agriculture Secretary Berglund says this coming week will be the key for the president. If market prices continue to recover, he claims, the president can emerge unscathed in Iowa from the embargo. Charles Gibson, ABC News, Des Moines.
The effect of the grain embargo on the Iowa caucuses isn't the only thing that might hurt the Carter campaign. One of the president's old friends, former Budget Director Burt Lance, goes on trial tomorrow on federal charges of bank fraud. And that kind of publicity won't help. Bob Serkin has details.
Burt Lance is my friend.
September 21st, 1977. President Carter reluctantly accepts the resignation of T. Bertram Lance as federal budget director, a resignation prompted by a Senate investigative panel calling Lance's personal financial dealings questionable and unsound. Determined to restore his good name and credibility, Burt Lance returns home to Calhoun, Georgia, and friendlier surroundings. May 23rd, 1979. A federal grand jury in Atlanta concludes a 17-month investigation by returning a 33-count indictment against Lance, former bank president Richard Carr, financial trustee Tom Mitchell, and pharmacist Jack Mullins. The indictment covers a 9-year period when Lance was president of 2 Georgia banks. Lance and his associates are charged with conspiring to commit numerous banking violations, defrauding government agencies by deceitful and unlawful means, and influencing 41 banks to loan themselves, their friends, and relatives over $20 million. A team of 4 government lawyers will prosecute the case. Lance and his 3 co-defendants have pleaded innocent. They could be sentenced to as much as 5 years in prison and fined $10,000 for each count they are found guilty of. This trial's impact could be far-reaching. It starts at a time when President Carter and Senator Kennedy near their first showdown for delegate votes in the Iowa caucuses. Daily headlines about his old friend Burt Lance being tried on criminal charges could prove, at the very least, embarrassing to the president. Bob Serkin, ABC News, Atlanta.
Tens of thousands of supporters of Patriotic Front leader Joshua Nkomo turned out today to welcome him back to Rhodesia after 3 years in exile, and many more spent leading opposition to the now defunct white minority government. Nkomo used the occasion to make an emotional appeal to all factions in Rhodesia to reconcile and support the plan for a new government. Yugoslavia's President Tito underwent surgery today for a blood clot in his left leg. Doctors for the 87-year-old head of state say his post-operative condition is, under the circumstances, normal.
Don't wait for someday. Geritol is for now.
I used to think I wasn't old enough for Geritol. Now I'm old enough to know better.
I take a Geritol tablet every morning. That way I'm sure I'm getting enough iron and vitamins.
And if she ever forgets her Geritol, I remind her.
Geritol, America's #1 iron and vitamin supplement, with more than double the iron of any ordinary supplement and important vitamins. Don't wait for someday. Geritol is for now.
Geritol every day.
Hey, Vicks Sinex long-acting's amazing.
Lasted you through the days plowing.
More than that. Got me breathing more like my old self again.
Vicks Sinex long-acting nasal spray not only lasts a good 10 hours, but clinical tests show it's so effective it can have you breathing like your old self again.
Amazing.
Sinex lasted you through the long haul.
Oh, more than that. Got me breathing more like my old self again.
Vicks Sinex is long-acting. More than that, it can have you breathing like your old self again.
When a man wears Old Spice, chances are he'll always get a warm reception. No wonder. The clean, fresh, masculine fragrance of Old Spice is a scent that women know and love. So when you're wearing Old Spice, the invitation is clear. It can really spice up your life.
Put a little
Allspice in your life with Allspice.
Look, Mom, cars are getting stuck.
Don't worry.
Introducing the American Eagle from American Motors.
That's Dr. Wayne.
Mrs. Green's baby is due. I'm stuck.
The only family compact with automatic four-wheel drive. Eagle's four-wheel drive automatically directs power for traction, even to do this.
I hope Mrs. Green's baby won't look like Mr. Green.
The Eagle has landed on all fours at American Motors.
It's not just the L.A. Rams that have sports fans in Los Angeles excited this year. Dan Lovett says they have a lot more to shout about. Dan?
That they do. And while the Pittsburgh city claims to be the champion of the country, what with the World Series winning Pirates and the defending Super Bowl champion Steelers, the city of Angels, Los Angeles, isn't doing that badly itself, Sam. They have the Rams in Super Bowl 14, a first-place hockey team in the Kings, plus the Lakers, who are coming back big in L.A. these days. Today, the Boston Garden, the Lakers cooled the Celtics on their own playground. While the renaissance of the Celtics with rookie Larry Bird is a continuing story in the NBA, one should not overlook L.A. with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who with the skyhook pumped home 33 this afternoon as the Lakers beat the Celts 198, marking only the second loss at home for Boston this year. And the Laker victory was accomplished without this man, Super Rook Magic Johnson, who still isn't 100%. Jabbar certainly was, and the Lakers are to be taken seriously in the NBA. As the Lakers took care of business today, Syracuse did the same on the collegiate level by way of its 66-61 win over highly ranked Purdue. Unbeaten DePaul expected to replace Duke as the #1 team in the rankings this week, but Syracuse may be next in line. DePaul and Syracuse, the only unbeaten teams in the top 20 in college basketball. It is Bjorn Borg who wins the $100,000 today, taking the men's Grand Prix Masters by way of a 6-2, 6-2 win over Vitas Gerulaitis. It marks the first time Borg has ever won in New York. It is the 15th consecutive win for the young Swede over Gerulaitis. While the Summer Olympics in Moscow are surrounded with controversy and threaten boycotts, the Winter Games in Lake Placid are still on and just 30 days from their beginning. And here is the story of a group of Americans who are going there the hard way, but for good reason.
September 20th, 1979, Los Angeles City Hall. The spin-off point for Skiathon 1980. It's nearly 4,000 miles to Lake Placid to raise money for the Winter Olympics and the U.S. ski team. 2,000 miles later, a halfway victory celebration near Moscow, Iowa. December 20th, Elkhart, Indiana. And just 1,100 miles to go. 2,700 miles covered, and they're midway between Erie, Pennsylvania and Buffalo, New York, with roller skis, summer training skis with wheels. But who are these folks who have quit their jobs and dedicated close to 5 months of their lives to this strenuous trek?
Ooh, this is molded. It's gross.
They range in age from 19 to 48, sleep in mobile homes or hotel rooms donated by corporate sponsors. They've used over 100 pair of wheels on their special skis, moving along the highways and byways of Middle America. Only a small fraction of their trip covered with cross-country skis because simply there just hasn't been enough snow this year.
Pretty soon they become an extension of your leg. You get so used to having them on your feet. I think that this has been an exercise in perseverance as much as one of athletic accomplishment.
And you can believe it's a lot of exercise, covering an average of 40 miles each day. For some of these spirited team members, the sore muscles come from first-time experience with roller skis, but all of them are veteran skiers, and all will be working for the Winter Games when they finally reach Lake Placid.
You have to have be able to go after a goal and give up a few things. You know, you give a little, you get a little.
They've all given up something. For most, the security of a job, a warm bed to sleep in. But they've also gained something that only a trip like this can offer.
We expected to be spending a lot of time with mayors and city councils in big cities. We didn't realize that we would be so close to everyday Americans.
Thank you very much for helping the U.S. ski team.
And now back on their wheels, the Olympic skiathoners are on the last leg of this coast-to-coast journey, due in Lake Placid in 11 days.
Well, they expect to arrive January the 24th. Hopefully, Sam, the snow is following them. It's been a very dry winter in Lake Placid.
Thank you, Dan. 17 cars of a Conrail freight train derailed today near Athens, Ohio, spilling highly toxic chemicals. About 300 people living nearby were forced to evacuate, but no serious injuries were reported. The body of labor leader George Meany was moved to the lobby of the AFL-CIO building in Washington, where it will lie in state for 2 days. Washington dignitaries were among the hundreds of mourners who filed past the open casket. Meany died late Thursday of heart failure at the age of 85.
I know. Let's settle this over coffee, Counselor.
Good idea. Whoop.
But that's only half a cup. Don't you like my coffee?
I love the rich taste. It's the caffeine I could do without.
You happen to be drinking Brim decaffeinated coffee.
This is Brim?
This is Brim, and it's decaffeinated, so you don't have to stop at half a cup.
If it tastes this rich, I don't want to stop. Fill it to the rim.
With Brim.
Fill your cup to the rim with the rich taste of Brim.
Sunday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain, all new Guinness excitement. Stuntwoman Kitty O'Neill leaps 175 feet without a parachute. 12 men walk on a plane. A jump into a pool of poisonous rattlesnakes and more. Then,
We're a team.
some are more equal than others. The Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are back in an all-new movie where the action is hotter off the field and on for the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders too.
Bert Parks was a tradition at Miss America pageants. Then he was fired. Perhaps more people tuned in to see the girls than Parks, but you'd never know it from the uproar his dismissal has caused. As Tom Shell reports.
Here is Miss America, Miss Pruitt, Miss Mississippi. Meet your subjects. Here we go.
Is Bert Parks, at 65, too old to be master of ceremonies at the Miss America pageant? Pageant officials thought so and told Parks he won't be needed this year. Parks has been doing this for 25 years, and his fans were stunned. So were some of his former enemies.
I have written to Bert Parks via his agent saying that I believe he has a very good age discrimination case.
How can Miss America be crowned without Bert Parks singing There She Is? Someone else singing would be like the Pope officiating at a bar mitzvah.
With the urging of Johnny Carson and many others, thousands of Bert Parks fans have written to newspapers, radio and TV stations, and to pageant officials. But Parks has not been idle. He recently made this appearance in an episode of WKRP in Cincinnati.
How can you put a price on craftsmanship?
In a recent interview with ABC's Rebecca Chase, Parks talked about his feelings upon being fired.
You know, there's always a silver lining to everything. The groundswell from this decision would just warm your heart. It's the most gratifying thing you've ever seen.
Parks says he's been swamped with job offers since being fired, and he's not sure he'd go back to the Miss America pageant, even if it's offered. Tom Shell, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Thank you, Tom and Bert. That's our report tonight. I'm Sam Donaldson. For all of us here at ABC News, good night.
From New York, this has been World News Tonight, Sunday, a presentation of ABC News.
Tonight, an ABC News close-up.
77 people of my family were killed.
Why are hundreds of Nazi war criminals living in America? How have many escaped prosecution?
Simply because it's CIA intervention.
Escape from justice, Nazi war criminals in America. An ABC News close-up tonight.
Speak Out, a statement of personal opinion.